Let's get started. Wanted to wish everyone a very happy Thursday. Welcome to our Technovate event. My name is Joya Scarlata, and I am part of the marketing team here at InterraIT. I wanted to give a very quick overview of our InterraIT's Technovate series. So it's a monthly event where speakers will be discussing timely and relevant topics on a variety of areas to include leadership, strategy, technology, sales, and marketing. And the goal is to hopefully spark inspiration and conversation amongst us. We are planning to have a very exciting lineup of speakers for the rest of the year. So please be on the lookout on our website and on our social media channels. In addition, we will be announcing our May event in the next few days. Before we kick things off, I just wanted to cover some very basic housekeeping rules. Please do not forget to put yourself on mute and hold off all questions till the end. This session is currently being broadcasted live on Facebook, and it's also being recorded. So the recording will be made available to everyone a few days after. Again, just be on the lookout for future Technovate events, and don't forget to tag us on today's event using the hashtag InterraIT Technovate. With that being said, I wanted to kick things off by handing it off to my co-host Pinaki Das, who will introduce today's event and speaker. On to you, Pinaki.
So thank you, Joya, for that great start to Technovate, and welcome everybody to today's conversation event, leading people through change and uncertainty. Change is the only constant in our lives. We all have our own mechanisms to cope with change, isn't it? But what when the change is abrupt? For example, the one caused by the pandemic. How do you deal with that? Do you panic? Or do you just wait and watch? Well, friends, it's here that I would draw inspiration from Isaac Newton's immortal quote about standing on shoulder of giants to see further. Yes, friends, to see further and cope with changes, with uncertainty, what could be a better way than to look for wisdom from leaders who have sailed through such changes, such uncertainty in the past. Today's conversation features exactly someone like that, a leader with vast experience in wading through troubled waters, yet keeping the ship intact. Let me tell you a little more about him. Well, our speaker today also lived what was the great Indian dream in the 70s, to find a way out of India to live and work in America. I guess it was what they called the brain drain. After doing his master's from University of Saskatchewan in Canada and Northwestern University in the US, he then pursued a career in the US. He happened to work in prominent positions, including leadership positions in companies such as GTE, Digital Equipment Corporation, and Cadence, before moving back to India as an expatriate to lead and set up Cadence in India as a managing director. He has been a past national president of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and has been associated with various other industry bodies in leadership positions. Currently, he is the vice chairman of Council SME. Our speaker today is an avid writer on management and leadership. He teaches when he can at premier institutes of learning. He's an excellent mentor, a terrific human being, a master storyteller, and above all, a conversationalist himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on virtual stage, founder, president, and CEO of InterraIT, Asoke Laha. Ashok.
Pinaki, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashok. So
Thanks, Pinaki. Thank Pinaki very much for and good evening to people in India. Good morning to people in the US, and good afternoon to rest of the world. Thanks very much. I'm delighted to be here. It's interesting. You and Joya are putting a great Technovate together. It's a wonderful series. I'm glad I'm a part of it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ashok, and we are delighted too. So, Ashok, first of all, thanks very much to agree to be in this event to speak at Technovate. It's an absolute honor for us to have this conversation with you in this format. Today's topic is leadership through change and uncertainty. So let me start off by addressing the topic of change management. So Ashok, in your opinion, how do you look at change and the need to manage it? So what's your take on change?
People in general are very much concerned about change. People generally like status quo. Change is associated with uncertainty and unknown factor. Unknown is the most fearful thing on earth. I personally view change as a positive thing. It is all about mindset. All of us are going through changes from the day we are born till the day we die. There are two types of changes. One is continuous change. When you are born to your growing up, I personally say that's a continuous change. And there are abrupt changes. I call it a step function changes, move up like that. And that change happens in your life, do that. Sometimes I read a following quote from a Mark Twain, which is a very interesting quote. He said, when I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant, I could hardly stand to have the old man around me. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished by how much the old man had learned in 7 years. And I can relate to that, my experience myself. I was a teenager and I used to fight with my dad. I used to always talk about it, how ignorant he is. When I was in early 20s, I really appreciate how much it is. That's called your abrupt change in your life. People are generally concerned about the abrupt change. I recommend that accept and adapt the change with a positive mindset. Sometimes it's scary. It will fit. You will face defeat and failure. I just suggest that don't quit. Learn from the failure and try again till you master the new normal. You must control your destiny and you must be adaptable to any new environment, no matter what, how difficult it is because of change. In summary, I say change is a positive thing. I welcome changes. And in my life, I went through a number of changes. I can talk later.
Fantastic, Ashok. To start off on that positive note, I particularly like the Mark Twain story. And thank you so much for summing up your thoughts on change so articulately. It was brief, but it was all encompassing as well. Let me now move to changes in your career. So as I was talking about some of that while introducing you. So you did work in some prominent companies in your past, like GT, Digital, Cadence. Now, that is a lot of exposure to So each place, different corporate culture, different processes. Now, as a person, as an individual, and also as a leader, so what are the challenges you faced, the lessons that you learned, while adapting to your life in these companies, and also while leading in these companies?
You see, in my life, as I go back, I encountered 5 major abrupt changes. Of course, there are lots of numerous minor changes or continuous changes. I'm not talking about that one. First one, when I left India, went to Canada for my grad studies. It's a complete different environment. I have to survive and live on my own. The main thing what I found out is that I was on a scholarship, so that's a very limited amount of money. And I rented a furnished apartment, furnished room, and there is no PG per se. So I have to learn cooking, cleaning your toilets, cleaning your bathroom, cleaning the floor, everything else. I never done it before. I don't know how. I was basically protected. I was living in a home. Somebody else will take care of those. It was difficult, often scary. And I've seen some of the grad students, not too many of them, very few, but they left, they quit. After a couple of months, they quit, they went back home. I did not quit. That's the one thing I decided in my mind. I want to adapt. I learned that I have to spend time with the people who are smarter than me so that I can emulate them and learn from them. I also started learning. I started playing chess there. I started playing games, learning chess. I also playing chess and thinking proactively. I know that after my grad studies, I have to look for a job. And I need a job, so I have to get a reference from the people. The time period in the mid-70s, mid-1970s, and the country has get out from the recession, very bad recession. Jobs are very scarce. So I developed a networking with the professionals from different departments, so they could be my reference point. The references are important for my future employers. So that was my first step, abrupt change. Second one, after I graduated, after I finished my master's, then I moved to Chicago. Chicago is the second largest city in the US at the time frame. The place I was living, Saskatoon, was a small village compared to Chicago. It's a city, but small village. My first job at Chicago was a GTE. GTE was a very large, great MNC. Almost like 1 million people worked there. Highly structured, hierarchical. I started my career as a software programmer. I could have adopted continuous change, which means that every year you get promoted, you get some salary increase, you get more responsibility, and hopefully you can get promoted, you can retire after 20, 30 years, right? So, but I want to move fast management-wise. I was not content with for continuous change in my career. I was looking for a step function change. Maybe I was 22, 23 at that time frame, or 24, and I got a chips in the shoulder. I was very arrogant, probably. Those things helped me, those things maybe drove me. So before I went to the Chicago, I talked to my professor back there, and one of the guys told me, I asked him the question, how to survive and prosper in the big company. He told me, one of the guys told me, look a mentor. So I tried to look for a mentor after 6 months, and I found a mentor who can help me for my step function abrupt change. And I found one. When I asked him, this is what my goal I like to do, he told me, look at my face, and he told me that you have no chance to get promoted here. Unless I learn how to communicate effectively, change my behavior completely, be positive in my behavior, ready to take more work, more than any of my colleagues. My colleagues are smart people that came from a very good school. You have to make yourself valuable to the company. You have to exceed the expectation of your boss and his boss, and you have to produce quality software. Okay? The first thing I did, I joined Toastmaster Club to improve my communication skills. I also followed his other advices. And I worked hard. After 5 years, I was a part of a team, which is a 15 people team. I was selected out of the 15 people in the group to get my boss's job. When my boss left for another job, other part of the company. So I was selected out of those. And then all of a sudden, I became manager and in charge of the cost center. The challenge there is that then I have to get a chance to meet you are managing a P&L. you have got a chance to meet the president of the company and all other stuff, and they're fun. Okay. I stayed in the company for 10 years and got few other promotions. I learned from the GT, which helped me to grow rapidly in the step function. You have to become confident. And that's the summary of my life in GTEM.
Wow, Ashok. How fascinating, like finding a mentor there within 6 months, Toastmasters, and then your growth story there in GT. And after GT, you then moved to digital. Is that right, Ashok?
Yes, I moved to Boston.
So what happened in digital? Like how was it different from GT and the cultural changes process and the other things?
You see, after 10 years working for GT, I left and went to the Boston and worked for a company or Digital Tech. One of the reasons I feel, and it was just abrupt change. I probably say it's an abrupt change in my life. Complete different culture, different mindset. In 1980, this is the 1980s I'm talking about. Tech was the hottest company in US today at that time frame. The way people talk today about the Apple and Google. I read some place in Steve Jobs talked about Apple. He's running Apple as a startup company till today. Even after $1 trillion company, he still runs the company as a startup company. We'll talk about that startup later. And Tech was almost run as that fashion. So all of a sudden, I found myself, I was surrounded by the smarter people. Tech is full of MITs and other Ivy League universities. Everybody wanted to work for Tech at that time frame. And the main difference is the culture. Tech was created such a way, the setup that way, that you see your boss not more than once a week for an hour or so. That's it, to give you a status of what you have done. The difference is the culture. GT is a complete hierarchical culture. Here, the company is run as every manager is considered as a CEO of a company run by driven by P&L. I have to bring my own customers to bring revenue, customers of my internal customers, or I have to bring go and get a business from them. I have to recruit people. I have to make sure those people stay with me. There's no HR. And I have to manage expenses so that I'm profitable. It can be called a individualist corporation. They borrow the phrase from another management guru called Sumanta Ghoshal, a professor in London School of Economics. They taught me the value of networking, influencing, and effective communication. You have to impress the people to get a business. Very simple. Running P&L is completely different from running a cost center. And I learned how to adapt and flourish. It's a very interesting company, very interesting life in tech.
Fantastic, Ashok. So individualized corporation, I guess that is something which, those concepts still stay with you even today. And I would like to now, move a little further. I think you joined Cadence. I presume it was a new company at that point of time. So could you throw some light on what were the cultural changes, what you faced, what was the difference here compared to the early part of your career?
You see, it's interesting, after 3 years in a deck, and I started becoming restless because although it's a great company, I really don't have I was much lower in the totem pole, so that I don't have too much influence on the company's top line, their product revenue and everything else. I don't get a chance to meet the CEO or his staff. That's kind of restless. Then I got some friends that told me that I can join a startup company. It took me 6 months and lots of procrastinations. The reason is that startup company, they hire and fire people very fast. They don't fire at all, no layoff policy. So, and you got a family to support. I ultimately, after 6 months, decided to make the next abrupt change in my life. Leave Jack and join a startup company. To me, the deck taught me the concept of the individual corporation. When I joined Cadence, it's funny. There are 150 people in the company. And you're talking about branded. Nobody knows Cadence name. And everybody knew the deck's name and GT's name. No process, no hierarchy, you're on your own. Only thing the company has got is a highly committed, tremendous group of people. Highly committed people is a completely flat organization. Everybody thinks they're a part of one big family. Everybody was singularly committed to growth of the company. And the culture of the company was that everybody gets a stock option. Stock option was a part and parcel of the startup company. And the company grew rapidly. And everybody who contributed, they made lots of money. I can meet anybody, any day, easily to anybody. If I got some ideas to growth of the company, some product idea, something, I can walk to the CEO's office and get an appointment. And he'll meet me. Of course, if I waste his time, then he'll also shout at me to that. So, but the funny part is that when you join this company, you started looking at go beyond behind all the good things that happened to you in your previous life. Now, DEC is a great company with lots of process, lots of structure, lots of other stuff there. So, what is Cadence is a completely processless. There's no process. You just write down on a piece of paper and say that this is the process you're going to follow. you know. So so often you talk about it. Oh my God, we used to do deck this way. We used to do deck this way. We used to do GTE this way. After a few times I used those words, everybody looked at me. A senior guy asked me to come to another room after the meeting and told me that, Ashok, don't complain. Never complain here. You came here, accept the company the way it is. It's a great company, accept the company the way it is. Look at the positive part of the company, don't complain. If you want to be process oriented, go to a big company. Don't come to a startup company. I internalized the message. I thought it's great. I stayed the cadence for the next 7 years. And what I learned during the 7 years was much, much more than my 13 years working for GT and DEC. After 4 years working in the Cadence US, I got promoted, and they asked me to relocate to Cadence India as an expat for a 3-year assignment. It's a funny thing, complete abrupt change. New culture, I was born in an eastern part of the world, Calcutta. Here I am to move to, they are asking me to move to Delhi. But more important is that this company, Cadence India, call it 20 people, approximately 20 people. They're not doing well. That's why they asked me to come there. I was asking them one line, my MBO, one line MBO, build the company. It was again about abrupt change, lots of uncertainty. Can I do it? More important is that all of a sudden, I'm a CEO of a company, Cadence India. I never done it before. I never read a balance sheet. I never did talk with the government, rules and regulations and those type of stuff. I don't know. My previous experiences before coming here was managing a software development group. It was completely different cultural change. And also cultural change is that I grew up, my professional life started in US, where there's a different value system compared to the Indian value system. The way people talk. I give one example. US finance mandate that I had to submit a financial report to US Finance by 3rd of the month. This is non-negotiable discussion. Non-negotiable discussion. We have to give the self-funded. And I knew that, so I told my finance head, give me 2 weeks in advance, and I reminded them about the hard deadline. I reminded them again and again for the next 2 weeks. On the day, the last minute, like 5 o'clock on that 3rd working day of the month, when I supposed to send the report, he told me that for whatever reason, he was unable to complete the report by 5 o'clock. So I have to wait for the next day. He asked me to wait for the next day. I said it cannot be done. So I told him that we'll work the whole night today. Because only thing I made a commitment that 5 o'clock California time, which is a 5 p.m. California time, PST hours, which is a 5 a.m. next day morning hours. So I got still 12 hours left. So I ordered the food. We all stayed in the office. And by 2 o'clock, we finished it. And we mailed the report. After finishing the report, we all stayed in the office. We didn't want to drive in the late night back to Delhi, back to our home. You all slept in the office. I slept in my chair, And I don't know where other guys slept, but they all slept in the office. And then next morning we went home. Now, the positive part of this story is that everybody heard the story. And after that, whole company never missed any major milestone. Software group as well as our finance group, anybody else, milestone, they understood the milestone means milestone and we had to meet it. That helped the Cadence India image quite rapidly. That also helped us to grow Cadence India quite rapidly. By the end of my term, Cadence India was recognized one of the most respected company in India. Even today, when I hand over the company to somebody, Jasmine Ahuja, he did a wonderful job. He grew the company to the next level. To summarize, hiring, keeping a flock together, networking, and revenue focus at deck, and learning finance and general operation at Cadence gave me the confidence and tools to take the next chapter of change, studying InterraIT.
Wow, Ashok, what a fascinating story. What an interesting journey and an illustrious career indeed. So Ashok, you ended with experience with previous companies, particularly Cadence and DEC. You spoke about that it lent you the confidence to start something on your own. Yes, your transition from working for a company to being your own boss, and then providing employment to so many people as an entrepreneur, that surely is a big change. So my question is, as an entrepreneur, what are some of the leadership challenges, people challenges that you faced, and how did you kind of go about managing change and uncertainty at InterraIT in the beginning as an entrepreneur? And also, if you wish, you could talk a little bit about your journey through InterraIT also.
Okay, it's an interesting question. I already started working for 20 years. By the time I left Cadence was a $1 billion company. It's a huge company, Then you have got process and everything else. So after working for 20 years, maybe again talk with the different people, and then I start that maybe start a company of your own. Now, it's not done all of a sudden. One day I woke up and I did that. I took this long time to do that, talk to lots of entrepreneurs and everything else. And you know the risk. Because I talked to the entrepreneurs, in Silicon Valley, some of my people I knew. And there's a risk there. Risk is 90% of the company fail, 10% companies succeed. They fail. But again, abrupt change. So let's do it. So it took me 6 months to plan, think of it, everything else, One of my ex-employee from the Cadence, who became who is my best friend, and he joined me, and we took this journey. Now I purposely, when I started the company, purposely didn't take any money from the investors, because people told me that don't take money if you can, because they'll control you life. So I started on money. Now, the first thing I promised myself that I'm going to meet every payroll. That's the most important thing. And since I started a company, I met every month, every payroll. Every payroll I met. Okay. So first thing you learned how to manage money, how to manage cash flow. So when you started the company, you have to be very, very miser. very careful of the company. So I started, and I was living in a house in a New Friends colony at the time frame. I got a 3-bedroom lying there. I got the 6-bedroom house. I converted the 3-bedroom to the company. So I started the company in my next 3-bedroom. So I moved upstairs and ground floor. I started the company. First 8 months. So I don't have to pay rent to outside world. I stayed there. And surprisingly, some of the best people I've hired in this company, we hired in that time frame. And it's a completely different culture. After 8 months, I moved to the Northern Special Economic Zone here. So yeah, you have to be, the main thing is that, and that's why you have to be committed. And you know the adversity comes in, and you don't have to quit. The major challenge is you have to recruit smart, dedicated people, smarter than me. The people I hired at that time frame, some of the people, the first few years I hired them, they are very successful today. Some of them started their own company. Some of them very, very senior position in a different place here and US also. But they all came there and they got fun. I used to know those employees personally. They're with their family. I used to invite them to my house or in a company function and meet them in a company picnic. We used to celebrate any victory on a pretext. We used to throw a party on a regular basis. It's a fun, and that basically you build the bondage, because at the end of the day, if the employee counts, the employee, they'll deliver the thing, they have to work hard and everything else, get it done. So you build a bondage with them, and so they'll stay with you. And surprisingly, that time frame when I was not much at the beginning, first 5-6 years, we got a very low attrition.
Wow, Ashok. But keeping your flock together, so that must have been much more than just throwing parties. I'm sure you influenced them in your own way, used your charm and to get them to be with you. So anyway, thank you, Ashok, so much for sharing about your life, the work life, and also the wisdom along with it. And at this stage, I would invite my co-host, Joya, to take stage and take the conversation forward. Joya, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Pinaki. So I wanted to now talk about the current situation. It's hard not to talk about COVID-19 and the effects that it's having. I think we can agree that we are having this new normal at work, new normal in different aspects of our life. So as a leader, you had mentioned about abrupt changes. So this is definitely an example of abrupt change. What are some of the leadership challenges that you have seen or witnessed that have arisen from this abrupt change pandemic?
Okay. Very interesting question. I am, in one line summary, I probably say that this pandemic is an abrupt change. Post-pandemic, life will be quite different. What you see the past people, I'll go to this one. But let me define what the leadership means to me. There are lots of people have got different leadership meaning. To me, what the leadership means to me. I would like to repeat a wonderful definition of leadership by Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, the Apple founder, the greatest managing guru. He wrote it, management is about persuading people to do things that they don't want to do. while leadership is about inspiring people do things they never thought they could do. So leadership all about inspiring people to give the ownership get it done. In February 2020, when you realize that pandemic will start, and there are enough signs there. By January, February timeframe, enough signs there. Europe is devastated. US unemployment was by 4% in January, which is going up. By March, April timeframe, it became 13%. US economy going down. So we knew that there will be a significant loss in revenue. US economy collapse, and since we are mostly dependent on the US economy, so our revenue will go down significantly. Now we went through that one in 2001 dot-com bust and 2008 called financial meltdown. So we knew that what will happen when your revenue goes down significantly, how to manage things. But this one is quite different. The employees are forced to work from home. It's a completely different environment. And there's a pandemic going on, and people are getting affected. So my first importance was employee health, physically and mentally. People are generally social animals. They love to mix with the people. So we have to make sure we keep in constant touch with the people on a regular basis. Not about the projects, but about how you are doing. Just to cheer them up, Now, we almost like a month of January 2020 timeframe, we just went we've heard about Zoom. We got a Zoom license and everything else that helped, that a godsend. You can talk right now. I hardly talk with anyone on a telephone. It's a Zoom. That's a Zoom. That helped quite a lot. At least you can see that people face by video. You have to have an empathetic culture towards the employee. You have to understand the employee, everybody going through a problem. I started having a one-on-one with the employees every day, twice a day. Each and HR will pick up somebody and we'll do the half an hour. Just how we're doing, and no business. How we're doing, everything else, how your family is doing, everything else. Make a joke, something like that, just to make you feel comfortable. Then I started during the lockdown. I first came to the office on April 1st because after 1 week after the lockdown, the reason I did that was because as you're preparing for the January, February time, we plan what will happen if the lockdown happens. Then we have to have a team of people, around 10, 15 people. They will stay in the office and because they are going to maintain the electricity, make sure network, make sure everything else there, security, building, cleaning, and all other stuff. So there are 15 people in Noida. So I came here, I met the people. I have to make sure the payroll made, finance people came in, few other people came in office and do that. So, and then after when the unlockdown happened, I started coming to the office 3 days a week. I still go to office 3 days a week. When anybody volunteer to come to the office, I meet them as required. If anybody comes there, my door is open, we can meet them. In a school history, I think everybody learned. We learned about the BC, before Christ, and AD, after Christ, right? I read someplace somebody coined the similar words called BC and AC, before COVID and after COVID. During the period of time, we learn how to manage a remote group. Work from anywhere. You start with work from home, then right now to work from home, work from anywhere with a new norm. I don't think people will come back to the office every day the way you were doing BC before COVID, and it's not needed. From business point of view, it's not needed. We have to manage the work from home culture, work from anywhere culture, and that leaders has to adapt that. Leadership need to learn, they have to adapt, they're adopting it. How to adapt the new norm? It's much easier to manage people who are sitting next to me, each other, I can talk with them. It's a completely different culture to manage people when they are different locations. Somebody may be in Bangalore, somebody may be in Madras, somebody in Chennai, some other places, location, I really want to start an office in Digha or Goa, near the beach. I like to move there, and you have to improve the infrastructure. Zoom or similar thing will be order of the day. Video conferencing will be the norm instead of face-to-face meeting. I don't know, Joya, I answered your question or not?
Yeah, no, that really did answer the question. So even the past examples that you had given with the dot-com bust and the recession, it really proves that you have to have this proactive thinking. You have to, it's almost, you have to think on your feet and be agile. And I think you did answer this. I wanted to ask, with these abrupt changes, because you mentioned at the beginning that change to a lot of people it can be a scary thing because it's that fear of the unknown. So it's, how do you lead people? And you did mention this through a abrupt change, through that fear of the unknown. You did mention that, you have to keep those communication channels open, right? That informal and that formal methods, and check up on your employees. Is there anything else that you would add to that? Just how do you reassure people?
You see, you have to build a reputation. I never, 2021, 2020, I try to be truthful to the people. I try to be truthful to the people. I talk to I did a comms meeting. I talked to the manager. I talked to them. Bad times are coming in. No, we have to tighten our belt. So we may do some drastic step. Other companies are doing it. I didn't sugarcoat it. I did that. We got a comms meeting. We told them the way it is, with a positive sign, and I didn't lie to them, We did some of the financial tough decisions we make at that time frame because we don't know, the future is unknown at that time frame. But I told them that if you think get better, then we may do that, and we did that. Everything I promised them, everything I committed them, I kept up. We kept the cultural program. We did on one-on-one basis. We did the InterraIT Day. I think main thing is that you have to keep the employees connect. And if somebody gets sick or something like that, we have to make sure that we meet those people and we take care of them. Our admin people are wonderful people. They're very competent. They go there. So basically, bottom line is that you have to keep the constant communication with them. Some people are tough, some people are strong, and some people may go to the mental depression or mental breakdown, because they are social animals. They're not meeting anybody, or they are cooped up in one room or one house, small house, something like that. So you have to keep them in touch with them, and the manager has to keep in touch. And so that's the one thing to do. You have to keep a continuous touch with the people. just to make sure that we don't, that people think there is some friend there. And you build a relationship so they have got something to talk about it.
Right.
Okay.
So I would love to, keep the conversation going, but of course we have a little bit of a time constraint. So just to wrap things up with the final question, what are maybe 2-3 takeaways that you wanted to impart to the audience? And thank you for everyone attending. What are maybe a few points that you wanted to leave regarding change, people management?
Between the last 1 year, I read lots of books, lots of webinars, And funny thing that I buy lots of books. But most of the books I read, probably few chapters. I don't think I finished any of the books except 1 or 2. So I finished all of them. Last 1 year. So what I did, one of the things I read was that you have to embrace changes and be positive. Be positive because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. AC is coming soon. After COVID, life is coming soon. So we thought it would come in April, where right now with the new COVID coming in India, it may go maybe September, October timeframe, but light is coming soon. So you have to get prepared for the AC environment. That's really different from the one. Okay? You have to update yourself. My advice to everybody, and which I follow myself, update yourself on a continuing basis. Read books, articles, listen to YouTube videos. Every day I spend almost from 11 o'clock night to 12 o'clock or 10:30 to 11:30. 10:30, 11:30. I spend 1 hour every day. Either books, articles, or YouTube. I generally go to bed around 12 o'clock, midnight. I ask myself, am I better today than yesterday? That's a key factor comes in. Okay. The world, in the AC world, organizations become more flat and flat and flat. Particularly with the new generation people coming in, what you call the generation Z, probably somebody talked about it. They are, management of them is different than managing the baby boomers. Okay. So you have to build the effective communication skills. Anybody want to be leader, they have to have effective communication skills. You have to improve them. And I like to have InterraIT composed. I got 300 people. I like to have InterraIT composed of 300 mini companies. Each employee being the CEO of each company, which is Sumant Gosal talked about individual corporation. And that's the organization will move to ahead today. And so that's my takeaway.
Oh, thank you. I definitely learned a lot, and I probably could say the same with my co-host. But for now, I'm going to pass it back to Pinaki, who will moderate the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Joya. Thanks, Pinaki.
Thanks, Ashok. And thanks, Joya, for getting the best out of Ashok. Both of you were great. You really made it very an engaging conversation. What we'll do, my problem is same as what Joya stated. So there is a time constant. We really wanted to wrap this up by 9 o'clock. Maybe we'll go a little ahead of that. What we had planned was to, have an audience, some questions from the audience. So some of you were kind enough to actually write write to us, and probably I will take up 3 or 4 questions. So here goes the first one. So this is from Ronojoy Chakraborty. So Ashok, it goes something like this: in a crisis situation affecting every other person, how to keep colleagues still motivated to accept new challenges. So in crisis situation affecting every other person, how to keep colleagues still motivated to accept new challenges.
I think first, you have to stay calm and positive mindset. I hear this, I read these history books, war stories and everything else that, when the German bombed the carpet bomb, London, Winston Churchill still stayed calm. And he was able to, because he stayed calm, he was able to motivate his people. His people stayed calm. There's a bomb going all over the place. Some of the let's say, are every day dying. But they stayed because they got one motive. So that's the challenge of a leader. You have to be any leader, any manager. I don't call a manager anymore. This day and age, after AC, I don't think it's a manager. What you to manage? You have to be leader. So for every leader, you have to make sure it's not an easy thing to do. It's a complete drastic change in mindset. Drastic change in mindset. But you have to stay calm. You have to accept the reality, what's happening, and make the best out of it. That's the only thing I can do, make the best of it and make it calm. And then whatever happens, if you're not panicked, if you stay together, then you will win. You have to believe in you will win. If you believe in, you cannot give up. So you got to believe in you win, and that's a good thing. It's a completely different mindset. We generally try to give up pretty fast, quit very fast. So you have to be that positive attitude. I want to win, and that will happen. So something like in a cricket, I've seen Andre Russell does it. The other day, somebody scored like 30 or 40 runs last innings, 20 or 30 runs. Oh no, 37 runs. They scored this, hit the 6 sixers to win the game. So those that they don't believe in. So you have to believe that. There are stories all over the place in the history book.
So thank you, Ashok, for for those inspirational words, and thanks, Ronojoy, for that question. I would now move to another question, so which is about your experience in change management initiatives. So you have been part of many such initiatives, led some of those initiatives. So maybe any on acquisition and merger. So this comes from Devashish Bhattacharya. And along with that, I'm also, I'm making it a and/or, any change initiative that you're proud of, like anything in InterraIT or in any of your past organizations, where maybe the situation was uncertain, something like that, and that change really happened under your leadership.
I think that M&A or merger acquisition, that's one of the drastic changes from both sides. Both sides. Particularly, there one guy wins, one guy buys another company. Right? The guy whom you buy it, they are scared to death. So you have to manage it completely differently, empathically. Some companies succeed in doing the M&A very successful. Some company fail miserably. They cannot make M&A work. We bought a company in Kolkata. That's the Kolkata started. And I probably say that I'll admit that we didn't do pretty well. We are not mentally prepared for that. All of a sudden, we saw an opportunity and we grabbed the opportunity. We saw the one company, they almost going bankrupt, so they're throwing at a fire sale prices, and we bought it. We didn't understand the culture and everything else. We didn't spend time on it. We are not trained to do that. We didn't know the M&A. It's a completely different culture, everything else. And I probably say we could have got much more, but we learned from them. We got lots of great people there, but we are unable to assimilate, mix them properly. As compared to, I've seen the other companies, they do the merger very nicely. We're unable to do that, But that's a unique experience. Next time if I buy another company, I will do differently.
So, thank you, Ashok. And would you like to also comment, maybe name any initiative that you're proud of, any which went very well?
It's one thing I'm very proud of in my life. Some reporter asked me, one of the TV reporter asked me one day, or one of the interviews, I forgot that what are things, if one thing you talk about your life, what you're proud of it, one or two or three. I said the one thing I'm very proud of, which I accomplished, is give a stock options to our Indian people in India. Okay, to give you a background. In a startup company, you hear that people are making millions of dollars, right? If you're one of the 100 people in the company, startup company, then startup company, generally normally you expect that if you're one of the first 20 people in the company, in a startup company, and if the company is successful, you probably at least work with $10 million to have, depending on your position in the company. And startup company, that's the people who work the startup company, because if the company succeeds, they'll make money. Cadence US, when I come to India, the CEO asked me that Cadence US has got subsidiary all over the world. They got a subsidiary in Japan, they got Thailand, they got a France, they got a UK, they got a Mexico, they got a Canada, and India. Every employee has got a stock options of the Cadence US. Cadence US stocks traded in New York Stock Exchange, except India. So he told me that, Ashok, make it happen. Okay, it's okay. Since I'm in the north, I'm going to move to north, and north culture is a ho jayega. You ask me anything, I'll say, of course I'll get it done. Right? That's the north culture. So I say, yeah. Then I realized that, then I found out that no other company has got a stock option, and because of the government law. But I did not give up. So I knocked doors. I begged. I went to ministry, I went to the RBI, I hired consultant and everybody else. Then ultimately, try. I tried for 2 years. Ultimately, I met somebody, I probably met almost 30, 40 people, senior government officials, senior consultants and everything else. Then I met one person who is a powerful person. He came here and he and I talked about it, and he was able to help me out how to paraphrase the stock option. He was able to give me stock option. The result is that we are the first company in the country, in India, in 93, who offered stock option to the stock option of the US company, US company traded in New York Stock Exchange or American Stock Exchange, to the employees of the Indian subsidiaries. Okay. And I was able to do that, and we were able to, because I was very aesthetic and I was able to get lots of stock options to the people. Summary is that I'm a US citizen, so I got a stock option to the US, it doesn't matter to me. But the employees got it. It so happened during that period of time, after when in 92 they got the stocks, the company was doing well. When I left the company, stock was doing extremely well. And as a result, the people made tons of money. Lots of money. People made lots of money on the stock option, and they deserved it. But that's what it is. So that's the one thing I'm proud of. Right now, I think that RBI relaxed it, and I know that most of the companies, most of the US companies, most of the employees of the subsidiary of the US companies, they get a stock option today. But we are the first one to do that. So I'm very proud of it. That happened.
Fantastic, Ashok. And gosh, I must say, like, you're getting a lot of rave reviews, a lot of great comments. I wish I could see the video later on and make out. But our time is short. What I will do is, could we go up to another maybe last 2 or 3 questions I would like to do. So that would be up to 9:15 or something like that. So very quickly, Ashok, if you could just be brief, just to cover these questions. People have asked these questions. So one is there is a stark difference between managing change and managing change within a cloud of uncertainty. So this is from Manish. So as a leader, obviously the second one is more challenging. So what attributes a leader should have, under these circumstances, under trying uncertain circumstances? What are the attributes of a leader? One is, of course, patience. I think you had mentioned in the way. So this is from Manish Das.
I'm not going to downplay. I'm not going to belittle. I'm not going to say that these are very serious questions. Thanks, Manish. Manish is a great guy. One of my favorite. But I don't see that. What is that? It's a managing change. Managing change, even the uncertain. Any business situation is uncertain. If you don't understand if you're not mentally prepared to understand the market and adapt to changes, you'll die. Every business will die. Kodak and one point of time they want the whole market. Sony is to want the Walkman and everybody else. There are lots of other companies that can mention that, but they didn't change. So everybody has to change. Uncertainty, it will accelerate that. But if you are proactive, if you got a great business model, if you got a great team who are willing to do that, who are willing to anticipate and change, then it's much easier to do that. So for example, this pandemic, I knew that I expected when I'm hearing the comment from the Europe, everybody else, and then there are people talk about it, internet, that, it will never happen to India because hot weather and everybody else. But you have to play the chess game. What happens if it happens? Yeah. What will happen? So you have to get prepared for it, mentally prepared for it. And so proactiveness is the most important thing. If you do the proactiveness, so depending on everything what you do, you have to be proactive. You have to assume that any business leader, if they think that business will continue on a straight line, they're living in a fool's paradise. Some change will happen. You don't know. You may lose them. You lose the one customer. Who knows? So you have to mentally prepare for it. Uncertainty is the more difficult the complexity. But if your business model, if you have right people, if you are mentally prepared for that, something like Andy Groves talked about that. Andy Groves talked about a paranoid survive. You have to be paranoid. You have to be paranoid. And if you paranoid there, then you can move up, and then you can take the beating, and then you can move on. That's one thing I would say.
Wonderful.
I don't know whether it answered the question of Manish or not, but I don't have any other magic, any other blueprint.
Thank you, Ashok, and thank you, Manish. So I will take this is an interesting question, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer. This is from Sudipto Pal. So he talks about the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. So my take on it is probably, the things which happen cyclically or something, a recession. So first time I may not know how to handle it. Second time, I learn better, and there are the unknown unknowns. So how do you differentiate, handling the two?
You see, I do believe that Einstein theory, X, Y, Z, T, everything is a function of time. So there's nothing unknown would repeat itself. Everything will change. So the recession we saw in 2001, when we come to 2008, I cannot copy the model. Only thing that you have seen it happen before, but you cannot copy it. It's the unknown. Yeah, of course. Unknown. If it's a completely unknown, you don't know prepare for it, then you're completely unprepared. It's unprepared for that, It's almost like that. Yeah, that's true. I don't think I can. It's like if you know swimming, and you're a good swimmer, but if you got a big wave coming in, I don't know if you can survive or not. Sometimes you may die. So I'll not be unrealistic. But question is, more you prepare yourself, more you are mentally ready, more you have better chance to handle unknowns. And more you are paranoid. You have to be paranoid. Then you can probably manage it. And then basically go to Kalibari or pray to God, and hope for the best. That's one thing I think of it.
And Ashok, it's just a coincidence. I also know the person who has asked the next question. So it has nothing to do with the topic as such, but it has got to do with InterraIT. So I wonder whether you'd take the question. So this is from Pavanjit Aluwalea, whom I also happen to know. So Ashok, Pawan's question is how did you get the name InterraIT? So briefly, if it is there, or maybe you could make some other comment, talk on it offline. Just acknowledge that.
Hi Pawan, how are you? I can answer the offline. I can tell you that. I think when you started the company, you were looking for the names. Then obviously, I think somebody's daughter, very smart girl. So we are playing what the name look like and everything else. Then she came up with a name Inter. I think it's a Italian name or something Latin name. It's called from the ground. So basically, it means that you are feet to the ground. Then we like the name Intera. And then when somebody explained to it, first of all, you say, we don't know the meaning, so it has to be very good. First of all, we want to make a name of the company which nobody knows the name. It's interesting. I think it's a Latin name, from the ground. The moment say from the ground, so we say, yeah, let's do it. It took us 5 minutes to make a decision that we'll do the Intera. And IT means, of course, since we are business Inter has got a lot of another company called Inter Systems. So we got a different Inter name. So we kept Inter Influence Technology.
So thank you, Ashok, for that great answer. Terra is basically soil, so from earth. So I think you nailed it perfectly. So it was a great, candid conversation, Ashok, and thank you very much for your time, your wisdom. And I'm sure that all of us are going back enriched with knowledge and inspired. And thank you, Joya, for being a wonderful co-host. Thanks, colleagues, and for making this conversation event a success. Thanks to the organizing team, Joya, Jagannath, and many other people in the team for all event-related activities, starting from registration, promotion, back-end activities. We'll be sharing the webinar video link eventually. And good night to all folks in India. And great day to all those who joined.
I think that Jagannath's team, Progga, Akhil, Jagannath background, I don't know why Jagannath is, Joya. These guys have done a wonderful job. I know to make this on something like that, I have done some of them myself long time ago. It's so difficult, so smoothly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for things happened so smoothly. Nothing broke down. Okay, and you guys done a wonderful job. Yeah.
And I'm sorry we definitely went over time. The conversation was just too good to kind of, end it within an hour. Okay. I wanted to thank everyone. And I mentioned it in the chat. If anyone has ideas for future Technovate sessions that you want to see, let us know. Let Jagannath or I or anyone from the marketing team know, and we'll try to add it, to the lineup for a future event. So thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Ashok.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.